The stars are on site at Augusta National for the Masters, and it's time for us to give you the real stats and the data you need to make your picks. Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy have won this thing 3 of the last 4 years, but should you actually bet them this time? We've got that coming up. And everybody loves these Masters trends online, right? But should you really live and die by what they say? Here's a big one, for example. The winner's going to have played well at recent majors, played well this year, played well at Augusta in the past. They're great tee to green. They have to be a top player in the world, XYZ. It is all exhausting to look about and talk about. That's why the Golfbet Roundtable, here to tell you what you really need to know about who you're picking this week and the biggest week of the year. Kevin Clark from Omaha Productions, commentator on ESPN. Thanks for joining us, man.
I'm so fired up. This is my favorite week of the year. I'm so glad to get to talk about my picks publicly and instead of just boring my wife with them.
We will talk trends, Chris. One trend is for sure. This is the week that everyone has circled. Whether you're a core, like a golf sicko, like Kevin and I are, or if you're a casual, this is the 1 week a year you're watching. This is a 1 week where you absolutely have things circled. It's going to be a great week in Augusta. I don't think that we're gonna have a tough time living up to last year's theatrics, but I think they're going to come close.
That's why I want to start with these trends, because you see so many things that'll just give you a headache when you're doing the math and the numbers, and this guy is off by this fraction of a percent. Can he really win? There's 2 guys who can win. Kevin, let's simplify what we see online all week with this. What do you like to look at this week in specific? Because we know there is some predictability with Augusta.
There's some predictability, but I'm with you. I'm laughing so often this week when I see YouTube videos or I see gambling sites and all they're saying is, hey, there's only 2 people who can win at Augusta because of XYZ, because of this trend and this trend. Guys, there's 15 or 20 people who plausibly could win this tournament. It reminds me a little bit of the NFL Combine when people say, oh, this matters, this matters, this matters. What teams are looking at in the NFL when they look at the Combine is just guys who literally, like, certain things are disqualifying, right? So if you're bad in golf at approach game, guess what? If you can't get the second shots here at Augusta, you probably can't win this week. Those are the sort of things that are disqualifying. But saying there's only 3 or 4 guys who can win this, that's just a little bit ridiculous. So we know what that is. I mean, looking at it, guys have crunched the numbers. You got to be top 10 off the tee. You got to be top 10 in approach. You do have to have a really good week around the green. And then I saw Josh Siegel had this. The winners are only 25th in putting and strokes gained over the past 5 years. So not like you have to have an elite putting type of week. You have to have the ball striking the second shots. Obviously, that's all I look for. That's how I simplify it. And then you kind of go from there. This idea that you're looking at trends based on now rest is important. How much did you play coming into this? What did you do last year versus last 10 years at Augusta? There's so many of those things. I don't think any of that is disqualifying as long as you can get the shots and the greens regulation required at Augusta.
All right, so Kevin came off the top rope and I got scared, but then he backed into it, and I feel like we're going to land in a good place because I went down the full field list before we started taping here, and I just did a gut check litmus test of would it surprise you if this person wins the Masters? Mm-hmm. And I think you can get about 15, 16 deep, and then you have to really start squinting. You go down to like Colin Morikawa, Robert McIntyre range on the odds board, and then if you want to add a Koepka or a Patrick Reed or a Victor Hovland beyond that, I think that's worth a discussion. But other than that, so yes, it is definitely, it's the smallest field in golf's 4 majors, and of that field, maybe a quarter realistically have a chance to win. I think, Chris, we have fun with some of these trends. I would agree with Kevin in terms of one that pops up says you can't miss the cut last year at the Masters and then win this year. So does that mean Cameron Young can't win the Masters,
exactly,
even though he's a different player than he was last year? I don't think so. But that being said, I do think there's merit in looking at the wide swath of these trends. If you put 20 or 30 on the board, and if someone like Xander Schauffele and Tommy Fleetwood and Matt Fitzpatrick hit 25 out of 30, and someone like Russell Henley hits 6 out of 30, that's going to be something that I would take into account when I'm looking at the board. So I agree. We're not disqualifying guys specifically just because they don't hit, trend X, Y, or Z. But I do think this is, as you said, Chris, the most predictive, the most correlated tournament we play all year long. The guys that play well here often. The guys that can't figure it out spend years and years trying to figure it out. And often with no success. Rory winning last year in his 17th time is a huge outlier in terms of how many times it takes to actually win this thing. More often than not, it's not the rookies, but it's also not anyone that's played more than like 4, 5, 6 times.
I'm glad we got that out of the way early. Forget about those trends. Let's talk about the stuff that actually matters this week. We're talking about predictability with the Masters, right? Well, you look at what the winners have done and their trends of what they actually did in the golf course. Greens in regulation is the big number one thing here. Look at the last 10 winners of the Masters, and 8 of the 10 were inside the top 10 that week and greens in regulation. How about scrambling? Each of the last 6 Masters champions have been inside the top 10 in scrambling. Kevin mentioned around the greens, and I want to add one more to it because I think this is important. Your winner's almost certainly going to start fast on Thursday. Look at the last 22 champions. All of them have been inside the top 10 after round 1, except for Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. The chances of a player coming from behind this week are going to be very small. It can happen, but it's likely not going to happen. So you're talking about players who start fast. If you have a guy who's notoriously starting slow, maybe you have the yellow light on that one there. So we've got greens in regulation, Kevin. We got the scrambling. What else about this golf course do you think people got to key in on who they're picking this week?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at par 5 performance is what my prediction. My winner here is top 3 in the world at par 5s. I don't want to give away who that is, but you just look at the scoring opportunities because you mentioned it. They're it's not like this is an easy course where you can screw around for 2 days, then on Saturday, Sunday make your move. You really have to be within striking distance on Thursday, on Friday. So that's par 5s. That's the ball striking we talk about. You cannot be a bad ball striker on this course, and then we talk about it all the time. Course history. We talked about how the stat that you can't miss the cut one year and then win it the next year, but also there's never been a debut winner. Someone like Chris Gotterup. That part of that to me is just that you have to know this course and you have to understand what it takes to win here. Winning is a skill. Being an alpha on this course is a skill. So a little bit of that is junk science. You can't really quantify that. As you said, Will, Rory winning this late into his career is a bit of an outlier for a first-time Masters winner, but understanding what it takes to win at Augusta is a skill, and I think that you got to kind of put a little bit of magic on that and understand what that looks like and put yourself in the head of some of these golfers going into this week. That's not a stat. That's not predictive. It's just a feel thing along with the types of skill sets that we look for traditionally at Augusta.
I mean, strokes gained feels are a huge component this week. It's a lot between. I'm serious. Like it's a
lot magic.
Yeah, it's a lot between the ears. It is a lot about how guys. I think that's part of the correlation with how have you played in major championships over the last year or two. Because essentially the thought is you have to have played well. You have to have contended. You have to feel that fire before you win a major, especially a Masters. I want to go back, Chris, to your first point about the GIRs. And I don't know if you mentioned this, guys. I find myself at Augusta National this week. Super fun. But I was out on the course earlier today. It is going to be firm and fast. This weather forecast we have this week is the stuff you would draw up in your dreams. There's not going to be a hint of rain all week long through Sunday, which means this place is going to bake out in a big way. So I think even when you look back at recent Masters, you think back to 2023, that was one that had a lot of weather interruptions. The course is very soft, and we see some guys that maybe hit it higher and have more carry distance off the tee. They can succeed at a softer Augusta National, whereas this one might lean into, I would think back to 2016 when it was really firm and windy during the Danny Willett win. It's a different golf course. And so that, for me, leans even more to the guys that have played here in different kinds of winds, different kinds of conditions, away from some of the rookies like a Gotterup or even someone like a Ludwig Åberg, maybe who's only in his 3rd try here. So experience is going to matter this week, and your ability to handle an evolving course that's going to become much more difficult on Saturday and Sunday than it will be on Thursday, especially into and around these greens, is going to be paramount.
And the other thing I just want to say is you shouldn't even look. You mentioned that the looking at 15, 17 guys and then just cutting everybody off. Because of the skill sets required here, whether that's shots that are 150 to 175 yards out, par 4s that are 400 to 451 yards, like there's so many of those, and then maybe a little bit above that. There's so many of those that are so predictive here, but that's just what it takes to be good on the tour, is being able to make those shots. So it's only elite players, elite and above, that's it. Don't bother with the dark horses here just because of what kind of course it is. It's not just a feel thing and an alpha thing. It's also just you need the shots that require you to be a good golfer.
And what makes it so intriguing this week is because We're going to call Scotty Scheffler down. His odds have gone from, I think, plus 400 to plus 500 now this week.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy went from plus 500 on January 1st to now plus 1,200 to win this golf tournament. Okay, so if we're going to look at these two guys who have been so successful at this tournament, so successful in their careers, you guys, here's the big concern with both Scotty and Rory right now. We're talking about these big key stats, your approach, your scrambling. I threw in putting too. These are Rory and Scotty's last 8 rounds on the PGA Tour. Their average, according to how they play against the field, they are both very mediocre. Neither of them is inside the top 30 in any of these big categories. Rory's putting has been maybe even below average. So you're looking at these two players who clearly are not what they used to be. How do you handicap these two players this week, Kevin? Are you looking at the odds, or are you just looking at it in general? Or the odds have anything to do with it with you?
No, the odds definitely don't have anything to do with it. I mean, first of all, these guys are 2nd and 7 respectively in true strokes gained at Augusta National. And so if you want to say, hey, these guys are going to be able to recover it and do everything they need to do this weekend, sure, I'll buy that. But both of them, Scotty Scheffler has had such a massive advantage, especially on the ball striking part of it for, 2-3 years. And that's become, it's not a weakness because a lot of guys would kill for his ball striking stats right now, but I can't do it. I can't do the form thing. I can't do just the rest thing. If you just look at, he's going against trend as far as how often he's played in the last month, obviously for very good reason, with the new child and all that stuff. And then with Rory, can he have a hot putting weekend? Sure, but I'm staying away from both these guys. I just think, there's too many guys who should win this tournament for me to mess around with guys who I think I need to talk myself into. Does that make sense?
It does. It's amazing that we're sitting here talking about a need to talk ourselves into either Scotty or Rory, let alone both. But that's kind of where we are. Listen, there's a lot of tape from this show from last year and years gone by of me saying that Rory would never win the Masters. So take that with a grain of salt. But of these two, I have great concerns. It's easier for me to buy into a Scotty bounce back than a Rory bounce back. And I want to kind of go into the strokes gain feel stuff and in between the ears with Rory a little bit. Pat Mayo, our friend and colleague, had a great point in his preview podcast of this is all different and new for Rory this year, coming back as a champion. And he has so wanted to soak in all these things that he's out of how he has gone about his Masters prep previously, and for good reason. But he's here on Saturday at the ANWA, and he's here on Sunday with the drive, chip, and putt guys, and he's playing with his dad, and he's hosting the Champions Dinner on Tuesday. And even listening to him in interviews this week, he said, yeah, by the time I get through the dinner on Tuesday, then I'm going to take it seriously, and I'm going to lock in for Wednesday. And listen, I don't think he's not taking it seriously, but I do think that all of the off-course stuff, the pomp and circumstance that he so desperately wanted to be a part of, is going to factor in. Then all of a sudden, when you try and lock in, it's easier said than done, especially, as you said, when he's not playing particularly well to his standards, when he's coming off a back injury that knocked him out of Bay Hill and nearly knocked him out of the Players. So I'm going to pass on Rory. I agree there are some pink flags, maybe not red flags, but pink flags with Scotty with the ball striking. He hasn't played in a couple weeks, but this is a place where he can figure it out as a 2-time champion. It's wild to think that if he doesn't win this year, this will be the first time he won't be a part of the green jacket ceremony since 2021, either putting it on someone or getting it back. So Scotty is an understandable betting favorite just because these markets are up for so long after last year's Masters. So the books are swimming in Scotty outright bets and tickets. But I, like Kevin, am going to scroll a little bit down the board before I click.
I'm with you, and I also want to throw Colin Morikawa into this bucket too, because all the metrics say that he should be the favorite because he's got the game. But with that back injury, again, I just don't want to have to talk myself into somebody when there's so many guys, probably 15 of them, that I'm convinced are going to win. I don't want to have to talk myself into Morikawa's back holding up for 4 days.
All you need to know about
you don't have to convince me about trying to talk yourself in. I've been down that road more times than I care to admit, and I will not be going back down this one.
Yeah. Will's got serious scar tissue, Kevin. We could play you the clips, but it'd probably take us an hour and everyone would get bored beating our heads against the wall. Scotty has been outside the top 10 each of the last 3 weeks. He hadn't done that at all since the Players last year. It makes you wonder about him. And Rory's played 6 rounds on the PGA Tour since the Genesis. So we have no idea what Rory's game is looking like based off of 4 rounds at the Players. So I agree. We're looking at these players regardless of their odds, and we're saying let's pump the brakes a little bit. There's other players at the top of this board who we can talk about. Of course, Scotty and Rory are going to get all of the accolades. Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau are going to be so fascinating because Rahm's a Masters guy. We know that, Kevin. I'm fascinated with Bryson because last year, do you remember how amazing he was around the greens and keeping himself in this thing at the top?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was what the stat I was going to bring up is how much better he was than someone like Bryson around the greens the last couple of years. And also the fact that he leads since 2018, leads the entire field in the number of rounds that he's had in the 60s, which is, I don't know how predictive that is, but it sounds pretty darn good to me that he gets in the 60s at Augusta more than everybody else. So yes, he's absolutely in the mix. He's somebody, again, with all of these guys who don't play a ton, you do have to do a little bit of talking yourself into, not to the degree of the bunch we just talked to, but for me, Rahm, absolutely throwing him a bunch of lineups that I have, a bunch of DFS stuff, a bunch of pools. I just think, again, we talk about the alpha stuff. Knowing how to play well here is a skill, and he's got it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Rahm played really well at a couple of majors last year, comes in as a former champ, so is an understandable spot there among the betting favorites. I will go back to the point that I'm really interested in from a core setup perspective. When Rahm won in 2023, this place was really soft, and now we're going into a firm and fast one. How much is that going to correlate and impact things? But he definitely has the game, every shot in the bag to be able to contend at the majors, as he's shown us so often before.
Okay, we've got all the stars there at the top. Time for Will and Kevin to go head-to-head on their tournament matchups. We're going to go Bryson and Rory. Bryson's the favorite, you guys.
We got to sell Rory after what we just said, right? We kind of buried the guy. We kind of buried him, so I'm going Bryson. I don't know about you, Kev.
I'm gonna go Bryson too. I just think that with Rory there, there's just too many question marks, and I just think that Bryson's so consistent in these spots. I like Rahm more than Bryson, but I'm going Bryson in the Scotty debate.
You like Rahm more than Bryson? How about him at plus 110 against Scotty? Think about what this would have been, the number about 3 months ago. This would have easily been Scheffler at least minus 150. Kevin, what are you going with here?
I'm going with Rahm. Again, I just can't talk myself into Scotty. I mean, listen, I don't know. One thing I was thinking about, I was laughing about it last night, is like, well, I remember what it was like to have a kid and the chaos and how I couldn't focus on work. Well, on the other hand, I've never hit a good golf shot in my life. So I don't know if I can relate to Scotty Scheffler very much. Like I'm sure my game was pretty bad after I had my son Teddy, because all of my rounds are pretty bad. So I can't relate to that. But obviously, just as far as what we're talking about, the approach game hasn't been good. The superpowers are not what they were. So I'm going Rahm here.
Shout out Teddy Clark making it into the show. This is good. Listen, I think this is probably close to even. Maybe I would have Rahm as a slight favorite. So from a betting line perspective, I would definitely go with Rahm. But this is one where it wouldn't surprise you to see either one of them up near the top of the board. But I think Rahm has maybe a higher floor this week.
I love this one because Patrick Reed was on a mission about 2 months ago. We've barely seen him. I think his last time he played was the week of API in the DP World Tour. Are we fading Koepka, Will, at this point?
It depends on how much you're reading into a bad timing on the missed cut in Houston.
Yes.
And if this was played during Houston week, everyone is on the Koepka bandwagon. I still like Patrick Reed. I mean, he's got a sneaky good course record here. In addition to the 2018 win, he was third place last year. I believe 6 out of the top 8, 6 out of the last 8 years. He's been in contention. So I will go with P. Reed, but I think it's a lot of how much are you reading into what Koepka did or didn't do in Houston a couple weeks ago.
I'm switching my pick only because I just think, and I used to joke about this, I'm going with Koepka. I used to joke about this all the time, but Koepka, it's like he gets off a boat, goes onto the course, either wins or gets top 5 that goes back to his boat. And he's got this ability to play his best when everybody's trying to play their best. And so I came into this saying, you know what? I don't like the missed cut. And I thought, you know what is more Koepka than missing the cut at the Texas Open or Texas Children's Houston Open, and then just saying I'm not taking this seriously. I'm working on something. I'm going to go ahead and T5 the Masters. I'm going with Koepka. Late change on my part. I just think that the ball striking numbers, everything's rounding into form for him, and he just has this ability to play well when it matters most.
Kev, will you take a change of heart on this one? If you watch the way Ludwig played this last Sunday in Texas, he's a massive favorite against Cam Young.
I'm going Cam Young here. I'm going Cam Young. I love everything about Ludwig's game, okay? But Cam Young, first of all, we talked about the par fours and the distances required. Most common par four here, 400 to 450, and then obviously the 450 to 500. Cam Young, last 8 rounds, number 1 in the world, okay? Cam Young, top 10 in approach shots from 150 to 200, a skill that you're going to need here. The ball striking with Cam Young is getting better. If you just look at the splits in time, every single time frame, Cam Young is getting better and better and better. He's the epitome of arrow up. He also has the best putting performance in his last 8 rounds that he's had basically since he joined the tour. I love everything about him. Give me all the Cam Young stock you can give me.
I think this one is close. I'll go with you as well and take Cam Young. An interesting stat line where he has 2 missed cuts and 2 top 10s in 4 Masters appearances. So high variance on the leaderboard, but I do think he's kind of a change guy coming off that Players victory. The thing for me, Chris, is I'm a little concerned about how much golf Ludwig Åberg had to play on Sunday at the Valero Texas Open. It wasn't just how he played. It was the fact that those guys, him and Bobby Mack, had to play 30 holes in some wet conditions. They had some great travel accommodations from San Antonio over to Augusta, but I do think that this, of all weeks, is the one where you want to start with a full tank of gas. And so that's maybe enough doubt for me to go and take Cam Young on this one.
You mentioned Bobby Mack. He's trending on the stats. He's an underdog to Fitz, who's also trending on these stats. Are either of you buying what people are talking about Matt Fitzpatrick this week?
Yeah, I am. I think that he's definitely coming in off of a second place at the Players and a victory at the Valspar. I wonder if the golfing gods will allow someone who's cross-handed chipping to win or contend at Augusta. that is tempting fate, but he clearly he chips cross-handed better than most mortals can any which way. So he's trending in the right direction. Definitely is a player who continues to get incrementally better in a lot of different areas. This isn't like, oh, he figured out how to drive it or he figured out how to putt it. This is something where Matt Fitzpatrick over the last 6, 12, 18 months has gotten a little bit better in a lot of different areas, and that's the sort of trend line that you need, Kevin, to potentially contend or win a major as he's done once before.
The only variable I don't know, Will, is if JJ Spawn is going to play well, because if Spawn plays well, then McIntyre is going to be number 2. Okay, whatever it is, they got the Mario Wario thing going, where Robert McIntyre wishes that JJ Spawn was never born. Right, he's like the Josh Allen to Mahomes somehow in golf right now, but it's just with JJ Spawn. I'm going with McIntyre here. I love his form. I love Matt Fitzpatrick too. He's on my list, frankly, of guys who can win this thing. But so is McIntyre. We know what left-handers can do on this course. I love McIntyre's demeanor. He seems like somebody who's just going to be able to take the emotion out of it if he's in the mix and those crowds and that sort of thing. So I'm going with him as long as JJ Spawn isn't going to win this thing and knock McIntyre down the board.
That's a trend.
He's in the field. Yeah, he's in the field. He's going to have to duck him. We'll see.
I had you guys picking this Fleetwood and Xander Schauffele matchup. However, I saw some things you guys sent me, and tell me how you really feel about this, Kevin Clark.
I'm doing the dumbest thing I've ever done, maybe in my entire world, in my entire life. I'm picking Tommy Fleetwood to win this thing. Again, there's so many guys. It's like I used to joke about this with the AFC quarterbacks. There's a bunch of AFC quarterbacks in the NFL who should win the Super Bowl every single year, and then it comes down to luck and injury and all that stuff. But if you just look at the form, last 8 rounds, he's got an argument for best ball striker in the world. And I look for recent form, extreme recent form coming into Augusta. That's very important, especially when you're trying to break ties between these guys who can all plausibly be called the best ball striker in the world. Fleetwood is absolutely up there. Top 3 in the world in par 5s. He has not missed a cut at Augusta in his last 8 appearances. He's been solid, but not spectacular. It's not like he's T3, T4 all the time. Someone like Xander is somebody I'm really into. I love the metrics, but I just feel like narrative-wise, it is Tommy's time. Let's go. Let's be a little bold here. I'm not trying to bet 8-1 guys here. I'm going down my board. Give me Tommy Fleetwood, Will.
You're absolutely ready to get hurt again. I applaud the effort.
Absolutely.
Yes, just running into.
I had him at the Travelers. That cost me. I had new bags in the cart. Okay, on PGASuperstore.com. New bags in the cart. I had to take them out when I saw what happened in the Travelers. I am in it with Tommy Fleetwood.
There you go. Well, I think Fleetwood's in for a big week, and I'm going to flip it on you. I think you're bullish on Xander. You're picking Fleetwood, and I'm going the other way. I feel like all signs are pointing toward the X-Man getting a 3rd major this week. We talked about some of those trends at the start of the show, but really Xander does tick almost every single box that you would want. You mentioned the recent form, T3 at the Players, 4th at the Valspar. He's played well in recent majors. He's played well in recent Masters, 3 straight top 10s and 5 since 2019. He hits it far enough to be able to take advantage of the par 5s and get in position on the par 4s. I just really feel like this is a guy who, let's set 2025 aside. It was injury laden. He had a tough time getting back on the horse after that rib injury early in the year. Showed some signs at the Ryder Cup. Then he goes and wins in Japan. And now he's finding his form at just the right time, because now Rory and Scotty are starting to wobble at the top of the board. And guys, I just really think that Xander, he's been in this arena. He knows what it takes. He contended the year Tiger won. He was chasing down Hideki in 2021 before he rinsed it on 16. This is a place that he has played well before, and I think this is the week where he puts it all together. And we're talking about not one, but 2 players chasing down a career Grand Slam at Shinnecock in Xander and Scotty Scheffler.
There we go.
Okay, Kevin, are you basically telling us with this prop bet pick, I just changed the screen, that Xander Schauffele is going to basically finish second place to Tommy Fleetwood? This is your
basically,
best
yes,
bet, top American.
Yeah, I'm going Xander top American because I wanted to pick him, but we can't. And I didn't even know Will was going to pick Xander, so I'm glad that we covered all of our bases here. I'm predicting him to finish top 3. Absolutely, I just love all of his metrics, all of his form. The fact that he's been a big game hunter in the past, as Will said. So yes, that is essentially what I am saying with one of my prop bets.
That's a
good exacto.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a juicy 10-1, basically, plus 960 for a prop bet. Will, you had mentioned how you like Patrick Reed. I think he is a fun person to watch this week because we talk about the predictability. Outside of Justin Rose, because he's done it for so long, who has been more surprisingly consistent at Augusta National than Patrick Reed? And Will found a good prop bet on P. Reed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm bullish on Patrick Reed this week for sure. I've got him as a top 10 finish there, plus 370. Again, he's been a mainstay on this leaderboard since his 2018 win. He went unconventionally, broke some trends in 2018. He missed the cut before that win. He scrambled his butt off. He wasn't really a ball striking machine. But since then, he hasn't really gone away. It's been T12, T10, third place last year, kind of out of nowhere. And now he's coming in, playing some really good golf on the DP World Tour, angling towards a return to the PGA Tour later this year. And I just really think that this is one where, again, 91 players, we're going to cut it to top 50 in ties on Friday. The top 10 is not that far out of reach if you're playing the weekend, which I fully expect from Patrick Reed. And he's got the game that suits Augusta in all kinds of weather.
Kevin, I'm so glad that you had mentioned that you could not buy enough stock in Cameron Young, because that's who I think has the best chance to win this golf tournament. His number has gotten so low. I still think it's okay at 22-1. Yeah. I'm just looking at everything you can mention of who's playing the best golf in the last 2 to 3 months. It's Cameron Young. And the fact that this guy, ever since that victory back at Wyndham in August, he's played 11 events. He's only had 4 of them outside the top 10. And most of them were at the very beginning of this year when he didn't play a whole lot. He's been a top 10 machine even after getting that first victory. And what did it for me, Kevin, was the guts that he had down the stretch at the Players' Championship, because Fitz did not lose that thing. I think Cam Young had a chance once upon a time to maybe be a superstar, but we didn't know if he had the guts and the moxie to do it. I think he's proven that with the victory at the Players, and I'm not afraid to pick him to win the Players and the Masters, because trends say it's going to happen again last year, right? Back to back.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say is that he gave an interview to the Fried Egg a couple of months ago, and they asked him what major course suits up best for him, and he said it was Augusta. And I think he knows. He's a guy who's been around for a long time, obviously grew up at Sleepy Hollow. His dad's the pro there. He's got a high golf IQ. We're seeing kind of the alpha tendencies here. I think that he had kind of a weird couple of years before this one, but it's all starting to come together. And I think he knows, again, we talked about how rare it is for a guy to miss the cut and then win the next year, but I don't think it's going to matter with him. I think he's almost a new golfer.
This would be 3 years in a row, Brees. You'd have Scotty 24, Rory 25, Cam Young 26 with the Sawgrass Augusta National double dip. We'll see how it goes.
I completely forgot about Scotty 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All right.
Before
we go, we've been on for a while, but before we go, I want to give the people 2 names that you guys love. Maybe not to win, maybe top 5s, top 10s, props. Will, you love Akshay Bhatia.
Yeah, listen, Kevin talked about it earlier. This place favors left-handed players over the last 10 or 20 years, and I think Akshay is in a really good spot to continue that trend. Maybe not win. He's probably outside that top 15 barrier. It would really surprise me to win, but this price, 5,800, is really interesting. I think Akshay in a top 10 market in matchups is really going to be a strong option. He's played well, made the cut in each of his first 2 Masters appearances, but he's playing better now. Coming in off that win at Bay Hill, the ball striking is really solid. And Kevin, I feel like Akshay is a buy player for me this week and not a sell.
There we go. For me, I'm with you as far as guys where I don't know if Adam Scott can win, but he can certainly contend, maybe get him in a top 5, top 10 market. But you just look at his recent form. Again, he's a guy who missed the cut last year, but has a lot of success here at Augusta before that. Irons getting better on approach in each of his last 5 rounds. It's something you have to watch as far as arrow up here. Number 3 in the world in approach in the last 12 rounds. I just think he's playing really good golf. It goes under the radar because he's 46 years old. And I think he obviously knows his way around the course. I think he's going to have a really nice weekend here.
All right, you can't fault him for having the best Champions Dinner option of all time. I will say one more piece before we go, Chris. On this is going to be total golf sicko inside baseball stuff. Adam Scott is 53rd in the world. This is his 98th straight major championship appearance. He is not yet in the U.S. Open top for 100 straight majors. He needs to be in the top 60 in the world. He's currently 53rd. So I'm sure this is not exactly what he's thinking, but racking up a few world ranking points over the next 4 or 5 weeks is going to be huge for Adam Scott, who, remember, he contended last year at Oakmont, but then faded in the rain. So he's going to try and get into the field at Shinnecock. He's not yet there, and if he makes it, and if he plays the PGA next month, that will be 100 majors in a row. Crazy stuff.
I like the idea, Will, of him contending on Sunday at the best course in the world and thinking, oh, these OGWR points. Oh, this is so good.
Is that a record?
There's always something. There's always something.
Is that a record 100 majors in a row? It's got to be.
I believe so. I have to check. Certainly, and it's been a while.
Kevin, thanks for joining us this week, man. Good luck with your bets.
Go Xander.
Go Tommy.